Hey guys, you got Christina Gilchrist here, also known as the Dialysis Warrior Blind Chick. And I'm here with my Moosey boy, my Moose the Pomsky service dog. And
Hey, what about me?
oh yeah, Michael Gilchrist is here.
The caretaker.
And this is Living on Dialysis podcast.
And this is a disclaimer. We are not doctors. This is just the opinion of Living on Dialysis Facebook group. And always follow up any advice you have with your team and your doctors. And again, this is just an opinion. So if you don't like it, tell me yours. Bye.
Recording right now. We're recording to the cloud. Cool. So first, thanks so much for being here. I want to introduce you to two amazing people that I found on social media, Michael and Christina, and I wanted to get them on here to kind of tell their story and let them be the interviewee for once. So, and it looks like they're back. All right.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Nope,
Of course,
you're good.
right when you hit record.
You're good. And then hopefully during this interview, we're not going to have any like alarms or anything going off. But hey, if we do, that's all part of dialysis and living on dialysis, right?
Yeah.
So Michael and Christina, this is your time to tell your story. I kind of like to get to know you and find out like how long you've been on this journey and when it started.
Okay. So I was originally diagnosed when I was 12. I went in for a sports physical and they found too much protein in my urine. So they sent me to a nephrologist and I was diagnosed with a strain of nephritis, but we're not sure to this day what the strain is. At the time, it was super mild and it probably, my doctor said it would probably affect me when I was like in my senior years and I didn't really have to worry about it. So I went on with my life, went and saw my doctor once a year. And when I was 22, I got pregnant. So I went and saw him and told him I was pregnant. And he sent me to a specialist to be over the pregnancy. Well, during the pregnancy, we're leaning a little, huh? During the pregnancy, I started gaining weight and it was like massive amounts. There was 1 month where I gained 50 pounds and I was like, there's something wrong. And the doctor was like, no, you're just retaining fluid. And so I listened to him and I went home and then I kind of told him again, I think something's wrong. Well, on September 20th, I woke up in my bed at home and I couldn't see anything. I was completely blind. And so I went into the office and they decided I was dehydrated. So they were going to send me over to get some fluids to the hospital. So I went over to the hospital and before they gave me fluids, which is a good thing we didn't give fluids, but while they were wheeling me to my hospital room, I ended up having seizures in the hallway. And so they did an emergency C-section. And fortunately, my beautiful 3-pound, 12-ounce baby girl was born. And she had her health problems, but she was really strong. And so she made it through it. So truly makes all of this worth it because she's amazing. But my hypertension went crazy during the seizures. And so we couldn't get my blood pressure down for anything. And that ended up ramping up my kidney disease, which ended up taking my kidneys. So we knew I was going into full-blown kidney failure. And so I went in and got a fistula. And I have 8 siblings because I live in Utah. And so I always joke about how I have 8 sets of kidneys walking around. I could pick any of them.
Yep.
But so I had 3 of my brothers tested, and 1 was not a match, and the other 2 were identical matches. And so they ended up deciding between the 2 of them who was going to give the kidney. And on December 9th, 2008, my big brother Brian gave me a kidney.
Wow.
And It was incredible. My whole family was there. It was just such an amazing moment for just all of us. Just it was such an inspiring thing. And so everything was going really good. I was just feeling great. About a year and a couple months into it, we started noticing my labs were starting to get a little funky. And so we started testing more often, and we realized I was in full rejection. And so they put me on high steroids, and I always joked about how I got FFS, which me and my daughter called fat face syndrome, because when you're on those high steroids, your fat cells for some reason expand.
Yep.
And so my face was just enormous, and yeah, it was great. It was everywhere I went, people thought I was like wearing a mask. They didn't think it was my face.
Oh no.
Yeah, it was not fun, but we did that for about a year and a half, and we realized that there was just no saving that kidney. And so sadly, I had to actually have that kidney removed.
Oh no.
Yeah, so that was hard, and I think mentally, I think nobody prepares themselves for it to not work. And the whole time I have been told, oh, you can get up to 30 years out of this kidney, and you're gonna. And at the time, I was young enough to think I was just gonna go on with my life, and everything was gonna be perfect. And so there was a hiccup there, and so mentally processing it was a bit hard, but I went back on dialysis. So the first time around, I only did like a month and a half because we had planned the transplant. And so they just had me do it for a little while just to make sure I was as good as I could possibly be during surgery.
Yep, makes sense.
Yeah. So I didn't have to do a lot the first time. So that was nice. But then the second time, I started in center, and at that time I had known about PD, and I had asked my doctor, and this is the same doctor I've had since I was 12. And I said, hey, can I do PD? And he said, oh no, you can't. He said, you're legally blind. We don't want to risk anything. You can't do it. So I just kind of took it for what it was and said, okay, well, that's a bummer. But I started doing in center. And so I ended up doing about 5 years in center.
Oh my.
And yeah, they were probably the hardest 5 years of my life.
Wow.
I had this beautiful little girl that I had gone through torture to have, and I just wanted to experience every moment of her life and be there for everything. And I would go to dialysis, I would come home, I'd have to walk her to soccer practice because I can't drive. So I'm dying on that walk there. And then while she's practicing, I'm laying under a tree somewhere, like just trying to recover.
Oh no.
And then you have to walk all the way home, and then it's dinner time, and then homework has to be done. And I feel like I truly was a zombie. I was just constantly pushing myself to do those day-to-day things. And the sad part is now I look back on it, and those 5 years are just so blurry to me. And it's sad because they truly were some of the best years of my daughter's life.
Yeah.
And I can't get them back. And so I think that was just it was lesson for me. Once I got the call that I was receiving another kidney, I knew that from there on, no matter what happened, we had to change what we were doing. And so I went in and I got a new kidney on May 7th of 2016.
So kidney number 2.
Yep.
Transplant number 2. Okay.
Yep. Transplant number 2. This was cadaveric. So it came from a donor that had passed away. I was told it came from out of state. And so everything went smooth. The surgery went great. Again, I have this amazing kidney, and life life is good. And at this time, I decided I'm not going to waste another minute. Like, I wanted to start living. And so I actually started dating. And it's really crazy because I don't do Facebook because of my eyesight. It's not on my list of things to do.
Yep.
And for some reason, this guy sent me a message and I responded, which is so weird.
Which is crazy because I take care of a lot of her Facebook just because it's hard for her to see. And she never responds. And usually it's me reading the message to her saying, hey, this person has messaged 3 or 4 times. What do we want to say to them? You know, stuff like that. And the fact that she answered was
a miracle.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember my daughter helped me answer. My daughter like typed up the message and everything. And so, yeah, it was so out of character, but we ended up becoming best friends.
Mm-hmm.
And
we had kids about the same age. I was a single father. My daughter is 2 years older than Tyler, so she's 20 right now. She's off just living life, college, just doing life. But you know, when we first met, they just became best friends, and me and her became best friends. Our first date was at the Ogden Christmas lights. It's the local city where they do this big giant light show. And
Yep.
It's beautiful.
You know, back then I was a struggling single dad. I had no money at all. So, I mean, I was scraping everything I could together. And Christmas lights is the best cheap date. So,
yeah. Amen.
And it happens to be like one of my favorite things on the planet. So it just so worked out. It was perfect.
Yeah.
That sound was blood pressure, just so you know. She's on treatment. So, and then, yeah, we just kept dating. And
yeah, we started dating, and like we ended up just becoming best friends. And like his daughter, she was like, I couldn't have any more kids, so she was just the gift. She was like a gift for me of having another kiddo. And to this day, like I still just see it as like we were just meant to be, and it's perfect. But so we started living together, and I started rejecting.
Oh no.
Yeah. So we knew I was rejecting that second kidney. And at that time, I wasn't willing to give up the life we had started.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was not willing to go in center at that time. So we kind of started shopping around at dialysis centers.
before this, she did so many drugs to try to save the kidney.
Yeah.
I called it Wednesday get together, because every Wednesday we would meet at the hospital, and the hospital would be just pumping more stuff into her. She did chemo for a while. And there was one medicine in particular. It was like $176,000. You know, of course,
that is not a cheap date, by the way.
Yeah, yeah. And you know, and given it all this time, we're still dating, and you know, we're serious at that point. But yeah, it was. I loved it because, like I said, it was our Wednesday get together. We just sat, joked, laughed. We were known as the rowdy loud room because I would have comedians playing and pretty much anything that I could do to keep her upbeat on that time.
Yeah.
And I'm sarcastic. I'm a smart ass. And my job is just to make her laugh. And I think that's why we evolved into what we are, is everybody is telling her the end result of all this, and she doesn't need to be reminded of that.
Yep.
You know, every dialysis patient knows what could happen, and my job is just to make her laugh. You know, the doctors are over telling her something or telling her mom something, and sorry, Robin, but I will be cracking jokes just to make her laugh. And because again, everybody knows what's happening, and if I can make her laugh, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
But
Wow.
we were pumping so many chemicals into us, so many meds, so many chemo drugs, that we finally decided what is all of this stuff doing to the rest of our body?
Mm-hmm.
And that's when we decided to let the kidney go. And that's when, go ahead and got chopping.
Letting a kidney go, though, like there's
The second one.
There's a lot that goes into that mentally.
Yeah.
Because you just give anything for a good kidney, and the idea that kidney was gone was hard. It's hard to come to terms, and I actually had to have that one removed as well. So my body rejected the heck out of them. So at that time, though, we weren't willing to give up on the life that we had started, and there was no way I could go back in center. So we started kind of shopping different clinics, and we'd go and ask them, can I do PD? And they'd say, no, you can't do it. So we ended up going to like 5 clinics, and the 5th one was my original doctor that had told me no in the beginning. And I just told him, hey, I'm going to do it. Do you want to help me do it or not? And he said, okay, let's figure it out. And so we started training, and we found a few tricks that worked for me with my eyesight to connect lines and to make it extra sanitary. And we got to the point where I ran PD 100% on my own.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
I was pretty adamant that I want to be able to maintain my lifestyle on my own if I had to. If Michael has to go away from work for work or something, I want him to be able to do that, and I can still survive on my own.
Right.
So me being able to do it all on my own was very, very important to me. So we started PD, and PD was a lifesaver.
Yeah, it was a lifesaver, and it was definitely different. But I mean, and again, I just came into the relationship, and we were kind of thrust into kidney failure and PD and a machine at home and supplies. And so
Michael, you were kind of thrust into this in a sense, like, hey, welcome to the club. Here's what you get to learn about now. And I've watched a number of your videos. You are like probably one of the most organized persons that I've ever seen in my entire life.
You can thank my dad and the OCD for that, or CDO.
Okay.
I can alphabetize that.
Yep.
And I think that's why we're such a good mix. Is I am so organized, so detailed, and she's just carefully fun. She is just, okay, we're gonna go do this. I'm like, okay, let's make it happen.
The role of the caretaker in all this is kind of oftentimes overlooked. I think it's one of the toughest jobs in the whole wide world, because you were basically on call 24/7. And so like your attitude through the whole thing, and keeping her spirits up. Who keeps your spirits up? Do you work with each other to keep each other's spirits up?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's kind of the biggest thing, is we just have fun together.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she knows I love camping. We have some property up in the mountains, and I wanted to,
and TV screens, by the way.
Yeah. With and once a year we invite all the nieces and nephews, and with this cool uncle and aunt Christina and Mike Gilchrist, and we do a movie up there. We do popcorn. We do the Jiffy Pop. I mean, it's a lot of fun.
So much fun.
And you know, it's glamping, but hey, I love it. We did PD up there for quite a while.
Yeah, for a long time.
Yeah, PD is amazing.
Convenient. It's so convenient. You can do it pretty much. If you have manuals, you can do it anywhere.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have power, just take your machine right with you. And it is just so, it fits into your life so well.
There was a picture when we first started doing this, and it's Christina on the motorcycle, and she's doing PT. And it's not ideal, but we were stuck in traffic. We were actually on our way to a casino, and we were going to stay the night and just see some shows and have some fun. And we had to do PD.
Yep.
So, I mean, we have all the necessary sanitary stuff that we need for an emergency, and we pulled over and did PD on the motorcycle. So,
Yeah.
Wow. That might be a first.
yeah.
I know.
And like I said, at the very beginning, it was, what are you guys doing? What are you doing? Like, hey, we had to do what we had to do.
Yeah.
And it quickly became the, you know, lots of people choose to look at the situation of what was happening. I choose to look at the smile on her face. And
That's amazing.
Yeah, we just have fun.
And we did, like Mr. OCD here again. We had a bag that we put every single thing you needed to have a sanitary exchange in that bag, and I didn't go anywhere without it. We even had a cover for if it was outside, you cover it up just in case a bird's flying over or anything like that. We made sure we covered all our bases.
Wow.
And the funnest part is, like I said, my job is to make her laugh. And her mom is
She's a warrior.
She's a warrior when it comes to Christina, and which is understandable.
Most moms are.
And my job, like I said, is just make her laugh. And she would be asking about PD, how it's going at home. And when you first do PD, there's alarms everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, it is alarm after alarm. And I just like doing one-liners and then walking out. And like a mom would be like, so what did you do? What did you do? And I'm like, well, I got up after the 20th one. I punched the screen, squeezed the bag, and went back to bed. and then I'll just exit. And her mom's just looking at her like, and then she has to calm down.
I'm left to pick up the pieces and be like, he's joking, I promise.
Yeah. And so we were doing PD. We ended up getting married.
Yeah, we got married on PD.
Yeah, we got married February 29th. And we did PD on a honeymoon. And it was amazing.
It was amazing. We started going on vacations. We went and saw our sister in Arizona. And we just, honestly, it just opened up so many possibilities for living. And we got to go on trips with our girls that now Sadie's moved out. So we don't have those opportunities anymore. And so we were able to have those.
And it started the foundation of being out there traveling, because, you know, our kids are growing up, and, you know, we had to start realizing that we're going to be empty nesters here in maybe the next year. You know, her daughter's 18, a senior in high school. And it was quickly, okay, we don't want to be tied to a center. We want to be out and about. And probably one of the hardest things is when she started, when PD stopped being effective.
Yeah.
Why don't you go ahead and tell them about that?
So we were doing PD and everything was just going smooth. And of course, like everybody always asks, they say, you make it sound like rainbows. It's not rainbows. We still jump through our hoops, you know. Like I've got a big old incision on my arm right now because I had to go get a graft removed on Wednesday. And so, yeah, you still have to jump through your hoops, but it sure does make you feel a whole lot better.
Right.
And a whole lot healthier while you're doing it. So yeah, it is a life changer in that way. But so we were doing PD and everything was just great. And my PD catheter started coming out. And so we didn't know exactly why. And so we went to the doctor and they're like, yeah, we got to get that out of there. So they went in and they pulled the catheter and they placed a new one and they put it in my chest this time, because I had heard that you could place it different places in your body and be able to go swimming.
And this was actually almost 1 year ago today.
Yeah.
And so go ahead, sorry.
Yeah. So we had it placed in my chest, and I was in center for a few weeks while it was healing and everything. Well, we went to go use it and we could not get anything in or out. It was just, there was nothing. And so they sent me to the doctor and we went in and did some tests and did some x-rays and we put some ink through it to see what was going on. And it was just sealed off and there was no reason for it. So the doctor was like, I think I have to go in and see what's going on.
Oh, no.
I know, right?
Another surgery.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he went in and all of my intestines had knotted up around the tube and they were sealing it closed.
Oof.
Which is not normal.
Yeah. And though nobody knew why it was happening.
Yeah.
And we went from doctor to doctor to doctor and it just wasn't working. And we did PD for so long that when you do dialysis more often, your diet is restricted quite, you don't have as many restrictions.
Yeah.
And so her toxins were building up and building up.
Oh,
and actually 1 year ago today, I found out my truck can go 120 and we rushed her to the hospital. We thought we were going to lose her. And it's because she wasn't having dialysis the way she was supposed to. When we were thinking,
I was so used to doing it at home and having less restrictions that when I went in center, my brain wasn't in the right mind frame. And so my numbers just went through the roof.
And they had a whole bunch of new medicines and all that stuff again. And that's kind of where living on dialysis started. Because I camped out. I stalked the doctor offices. I stalked the clinics. I would park at the clinics before they opened because I would be able to watch the doctors walk in and I'd be able to go ask them face to face what's going on. That she went to one stomach doctor where I stalked her Facebook for a while and I was sending her messages and like I would go in, I'm like, okay, what's going on? Why is her tube doing this? Why is her stomach doing this? And it was investigating and all of that stuff when I found out it was called abdominal adhesion.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm like, why is nobody telling us about this?
Yeah. And it's actually, so you can only diagnose it when you go in. There's no diagnosing it from the outside of the body. Huh. And what it is, it's where you have so much scar tissue in your abdomen area that it makes the intestines sticky. And so they stick together. And so they literally, you can't use the restroom because they're just stuck. And
it doesn't go away. She will have that for a lifetime. And kind of how I explain it is you pull the saran wrap off the wall and it immediately clings together.
Yep.
That's what she's had so many stomach surgeries that her scar tissue is just grabbing onto anything it can to heal. And again, that was when the birth of living on dialysis started, was because I refused to be in center. She hates in center. In center has its place. In center is great,
if
not for her.
Yeah.
And in fact, when she had her tube pulled and she had a CVC put in, she asked if she can go home. And what'd they tell you?
They were like, no, we don't allow people to go home on a CVC.
And this is where my OCD and the protector of it comes in. I went in the next day and was looking at the doctors. I'm like, okay, we need a defined answer on why she can't. And I think it was just an automatic impulse of the doctor of, okay, CVC, no, you can't go home. But then once I sat the doctors down and the nurses, and like I said, I stalked them too. I waited till they walked in and I was like, okay, I want an answer. I'm covered in tattoos. I'm bald. I look like a biker. And I'm just, okay, tell me why Christina can't do this. And then once I said Christina, 20 years, I mean, she's the dialysis club. And they're like, oh yeah, you can go home. And I'm like, okay, all right, good. So that's one of the biggest things we push is something I had a handicapped sister growing up, and I would watch my mom interact with doctors all the time. And my mom gave us some amazing advice, and it was always ask your question 3 times. The first time will be the impulse answer. The second time will be the safe answer. And then the third time will be, okay, let's actually think about this. Kind of like swimming, hot tubs, camping. It got to the point where it was, okay, we're going to do this. Why don't we have a conversation on how we can do it effective?
Right. Yeah. So living on dialysis was born then. And is that when kind of the social media aspect of this took over, and you were like, hey, let's create a Facebook group so we can help others?
And that's what I told her. I'm like, okay, I'm not getting the answers I want. I am on groups with senior citizens, or, you know, they are content being in center. And I won't say content. They're okay with what the situation is. And I would be asking questions. I'm like, okay, who's going home? Who's doing this? Who's doing this? Who's doing this? And I would get kicked out of sites. And they're like, you're being too aggressive. And I'm like, hey, I'm just trying to find out how to get my wife up camping again, or for us to be traveling. And they'd be like, you're making Incentral look bad. I'm like, no. Incentral's great, not for us.
Right.
And that's when I talked to her, and I'm like, hey, I'm going to start my own little site. And because I had quite a few people that I knew I was interacting with, and I starting to get a name for myself.
Yep.
And I started it, and
we actually started it. We started it when we started training for at-home hemo.
Because I decided I was going to show people our training on a daily basis. And the best way to do that was Facebook, like just document it every single day. And so that's when we started the group, and it quickly exploded to 40,
very quickly.
Over 4,000 people now.
Yep.
And it just quickly became this, and a lot of the sites are kind of negative. And we have that as well. You know, we have the negative part of dialysis as well. But our main thing is, okay, you had this issue and it was negative.
How do we make it?
How do we spin it? How do we, you know, and like just the other day, we had a lady call me, and she was freaking out about putting blood back from the machine. And luckily I had my phone. I was like, okay, I'm going to put you on FaceTime real quick. And I put on FaceTime. We walked through the lines. I'm like, oh, okay, it's that lead line right there. Let me climb it.
Wow.
Like, oh, okay. And disclaimer, call the customer service and
call your
and stuff like that.
Yep.
But she was panicking. And the biggest thing was, hey, okay, first thing I want you to do is calm down.
Calm down.
Because it is amazing how fast 3 minutes goes by when you're freaking out. And we started training in December. And like we had, it was amazing how quick 3 minutes went by.
Yeah.
And now it's like a lifetime. You know, like we, before this recording, we had some ailerons, some that we've never had before.
Oh.
And we walked through it, we fixed it, and we just keep running. And that's what I kind of told the lady. I'm like, okay, I know you're panicking, but stop. I want you to breathe out and breathe in. All right, now let's tackle this. Turn your phone around and show me all your lines waiting from him. And she was panicking. She didn't know what to do. And it was, okay, you're either going to clamp this off and not return the blood, or we make a decision right now.
Right.
And we found it, which was amazing, because it was all because of that little group that just spanned it all. So
and you didn't have any medical training in this at all going in, right? Nothing?
No. And like I said, I had a handicapped sister. Yeah. So I tell people I was too annoying and young to be left home alone. And I come from a huge family too. I've got a family of 9. And I was too annoying to be left home alone. So I just tagged along with my mom. And we went to the hospital almost every single day. Some of my best friends were kids in hospitals. One of my best friends was a paralyzed kid, and my job was to go into his room and play video games. And I remember my mom would come in and start yelling at me because I would be doing it like I want to, but my job was to play the game as if he's playing it.
Yeah.
And I just fight with him. I'm like, no, he's being dumb. He's doing it wrong. You know, and she's like, you stop that. You do it. I'm like, well, he's being dumb about it.
So your journey as a caretaker started early.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And people ask me how I kept doing it. And it's kind of a weird question because it's just what you do. You know, we were married, and so
you learn and adapt.
We evolved.
Yep.
And it's kind of like with the caretaker part of it, with this, Christina has, she's got the CVC coming out of her. You can see what's happening.
Yeah.
And the care partner side is hard because like I said, a year ago today, we were saying goodbye to her.
Oh.
And 2 hours after that, I was at work.
Yeah.
And it fathoms your mind of, okay, she was calling people saying goodbye, yet 4 o'clock the next morning came along and I was back at work.
Yeah.
Because you have to choose what days you take off and what days you don't.
Right.
And it's weird how quickly it becomes the norm too. Of Michael's late again. And it's like, okay, yes, I'm late, but I was up holding my wife while she was crying in pain for hours.
Right.
And that's the hard part is she has all of this to show, and I'm just a healthy guy. I'm just a healthy, tired guy at work sometimes.
Right.
And but I wouldn't change anything that we do.
Yeah.
So, and we started training back in December.
In December.
I work for the U.S. government. I work on aircrafts. I do composites, and I quickly went to nights, and we went
every day to training.
And there was actually on Facebook, there's a Advent Christmas wall that I made out of dialysis boxes. And I figured while she is having to go through all of this, I decided that, you know what, we're going to have fun with it. And I had all the boxes anyways. And we just made an Advent wall where every time she came home from dialysis, she'd be able to punch one of the boxes and get a gift. And
so
it was really fun. And
that's awesome.
Because I can't really top it. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
Oh no, you'll find a way.
Yeah, we'll see. But yeah, we did training, and our first treatment was Christmas Eve.
Christmas Eve, we came home.
And this is actually Tyler. This is
Hey.
Christina's daughter. She's
Hi.
actually on her way to work.
Yep.
But she's just saying bye, and so
The assistant caretaker.
yeah, she is the OG caretaker.
The OG. Yep.
He took over my spot.
Yep,
Yep.
He got the promotion instead of me.
that's right.
Now
All
you get to go to work.
Yep.
All right.
Hi, beautiful.
Bye.
Good to meet you.
But yeah, so we did the training. We went home on Christmas Eve. And of course it was scary. It was frightening because
The first time.
Yeah.
dialysis is a
Yeah.
big deal.
And we
It
had
is.
family over. And how I set the house up is we can do dialysis in any room we want.
Mm-hmm. Just
And,
wheel the machine.
We had her parents over, and it was fun because I had to tell her mom and dad, you are not allowed to make comments at all. You sit down, you watch this,
We got to
you have a
focus.
glove on. I cannot have you in my ear. And she just watched it, and it's amazing how many people don't realize what dialysis is, because
Right.
as they watch the blood being sucked out of her, and they're like, whoa,
It's nerve-wracking.
What's going on?
My
And it's
mom was terrified when she saw there was blood.
and it's like, we've been doing this for 18 years, and that's one of the reasons I started the group too. Was it's amazing how many people don't know what dialysis is. It's always, I think I had an aunt that went and did that.
Yeah.
She went in the center and slept while she did it. And it has this.
People think it looks so easy
Yeah.
because it does look easy. You just lay there and hopefully sleep, but
Mhm.
on the inside, you're running a marathon.
Right.
And that's kind of was to show the other side of dialysis, because again, 1 year ago today she was saying goodbye, yet we came home and we went to a Christmas party the next day. So you see a post saying how devastating the day before was.
Mhm.
And then you see a post of her in it was a Santa costume actually.
Yeah.
And
It was for Halloween, but I was Santa.
you know, but she looks so happy. She doesn't look sick. And I'm like, yeah, it was a good day.
Well, and I think when you're dealing with this every single day, you learn that sometimes you just got to push past it. And like I was saying, when I was in center, I want those moments. I don't want to miss out on those moments just because I'm sick.
You already missed out on enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I have a giant incision in my arm and I'm still going to a Halloween party, I'm forcing myself a little, but I don't want to miss that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And that, you know, is what I was pushing because she wanted to keep doing all that stuff. And after training, she actually did a all-girls trip to Vegas. And I was not invited, which petrified me.
It was
How did that feel?
time traveling.
Yeah.
How did that
home
feel?
chemo.
And we brought over one of her friends, and we walked her through we kind of gave her a crash course on dialysis, on how to run the machine, of what happens, what may happen.
And she could be my backup.
And she does her dialysis. I am her backup.
Oh, okay.
And that's what Amber was. She came over. We watched her do train, and we even FaceTimed because there were a few issues on trying. There were a few alarms that were going off that Amber was panicking on.
Mhm.
And again, it was okay. Calm down.
I got
walk
you.
you through this. Let's do it step by step by step. And it was just this one little step that got missed or skipped, and it was okay. It's this. Go ahead. And we ran treatment late, and she had the time of her life. And that's one of the biggest things is I always tell people, you can do anything you want on dialysis. It just takes a little bit more planning.
Yep.
And that was the biggest thing is I don't care what she wants to do. We will do it.
So what was the training like for your home setup there? How long did it take you?
So we are crazy. It's supposed to take a couple months. It took us about 4 weeks.
Yep.
Because I was so adamant. I just wanted to go home so bad. And I knew how I felt at home doing dialysis and in center. And I wanted that back before the holidays so much. So we actually pushed ourselves to go very quickly. But I remember on day one, we walked in there and we were so overwhelmed seeing this machine and seeing all these lines. And we were thinking, whoa, we're not dealing with PD anymore, you know?
Right.
And then that's where my OCD comes in really good too, is I am just on the internet. And again, that's kind of why the group started, was I wanted more resources. I was asking so many questions of, okay, why do we do this? Why do we do this? What do we do here? What do we do here? And it quickly, my OCD comes in really handy when it comes to dialysis.
Yeah. So, but I think like day 2, we felt a little stronger. And then like day 3, I think for us, day 3, we were setting up the machine ourselves. And so it's one of those things like, yes, when you go to training, you're gonna be overwhelmed. Mm-hmm. But that's because this is brand new. Right. On day 3, 4, 5, even maybe week 2, 3, and 4, you're gonna start getting it.
Yeah.
And so give yourself that time to allow your brain to pick up the pieces, because it truly is worth it in the end.
So, and the reward is so much more worth it too.
Yeah, when you go home, any alarm can happen. And no matter how much training you have, when you go home, it is it's brand new when you're doing it all by yourself. And we used to make jokes because my mom would come over and an alarm would go off. Yep. And we had to ban my mom from coming over doing dialysis, just because the second she walked in, it would start beeping. And I'm like, oh my gosh, because we would invite people over and I was like, Mom, you're not allowed to come over anymore. at least for a couple weeks, because the second she walked in, I don't know if it was my mind would get flustered or what, and it would just
poor
start
mom.
beeping and all that stuff.
I think you wanted to impress Mama. And
Maybe.
So, yeah.
So yeah, we started training right after Thanksgiving.
Okay.
And it took us almost exactly a little less than a month.
Yeah.
So we started training the Monday after Thanksgiving, and then we were back home Christmas Eve.
So
And,
Christmas Eve will be your 1 year anniversary of your in-home hemo, huh? Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
And the incredible thing is, I thought PD was amazing, and PD was amazing. PD changed our lives, and it gave us a life. It gave me a life that I didn't have before.
Right.
And going home and getting on home hemo, it is incredible how you feel. Because I know a lot of patients, they don't want to do more dialysis. So they hear more dialysis and it's like, no, I don't want to do it. But when you slow that machine down and you do it more often, you're being so much more kind to your body. So your body doesn't have that recovery time. And you can drink more because you're going to take the fluid off tomorrow.
And you don't have the food restrictions that you would normally.
Not as many. In fact, at some doctor appointments, she's told to eat cheese.
Yeah.
Because we're doing it so effective.
I love those appointments.
And that's the cool thing too about home dialysis is, like I said, if she wants to go out with her friends and she wants to have a couple drinks. Now we always tell people, okay, clear liquor. The clearer the better. If it's clear, the process is better. If it's dark, it'll impact her. But it doesn't mean she still can't go out with the friends and have fun.
Right.
And the good thing is I'm doing treatment right now. I could do treatment tomorrow morning again. So if she wants to go out and have fun, cool. Go have fun.
And that's the thing. It's so convenient to just say, hey, I want to go have a blast on Halloween and I don't want to feel awful afterwards. So why don't we do dialysis the next day?
Yep.
And we can do that because we have the flexibility to add an extra treatment in.
And it's kind of like with camping where we do it 4 times a week. But I can arrange my schedule where, okay, we are going to do dialysis Thursday night as late as possible. We'll get it done. Friday morning, we're booking up into the mountains, and we don't have to come back until Saturday night.
And then we'll do dialysis when we get home.
Now, we've taken it up, though, but you can also accommodate your schedule to kind of do what you want as well.
Right. How heavy is that machine?
What was that?
How heavy is that machine?
It is about 85 pounds.
Whew, okay.
It is about 85 pounds, and they have a carrying case. So just ask your clinic; they'll get you one. It's a loaner, so they just get you one. It has a sticker on it that's for traveling, so you can check it on an airplane.
It flies for free.
In fact, when she went to Vegas, she drove, but I made her this emergency go kit. And on the box, I put no die kit. And it just had all of the supplies, all of everything. And
again, the OCD kicks in.
Yeah. And we actually learned a really
handy.
lesson is when you're packing for dialysis, I figured 3 treatments, she's only doing 1. I'll pack for 3 just in case. And we had a lot of mishaps. And it made me learn, okay, we need to pack 4 or 5 just in case.
Just in case.
So.
Yep. But yeah, so hemo, like, I feel even better. And like, everybody hears my story and they think, oh my gosh, she's never going to get a kidney. And I thought the same thing. Like, after that second kidney, I kind of lost a lot of hope.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of what you believe to be the end all. And that's what you're going for as a kidney patient. But me doing home hemo, I could do this forever.
Yeah.
And I'd be fine.
And still live.
Yeah. And like she said, her disease isn't diagnosed. So we are talking to new doctors and stuff like that. And we know that she may never get a kidney. And
so is the goal to get another kidney though? Eventually?
If they can figure out why she's rejecting,
yeah,
it's one of those, okay, do we, do we put her through that major surgery again
Mm-hmm.
to maybe get a year and a half, 2 years?
Mm-hmm.
So
And you run out of spots where you can get a kidney transplant,
Right.
for one, and then two, rejection is hard. It is a hard process to go through, and so
Physically and mentally, I would imagine.
yeah, and not to mention, like, am I gonna take a kidney from someone who truly could get 10, 15 years out of it when I can only get 1.5 to 2? I can't justify that in my mind.
Wow.
And she is on the list, and we are in the process of we've actually transferred hospitals, so we've got some new doctors, some new eyes. That was one of the reasons for starting the group too, was just see if anybody else had what she
An
has,
idea, yeah.
and more resources to tests and stuff like that. Of okay, what exactly does she have? Because if we can pinpoint it, we can have one. Cool.
Maybe we will know how to do a transplant at that point.
But
Right.
that's the thing too, is there's so many options. We're going to be training for nocturnal home hemo as well. And well, she'll be sleeping during this process at night. And
Okay.
they have a whole bunch more alarms, and it actually extends out her dialysis as well.
Okay.
So she should feel even better on that.
Yeah.
Because and again, like she said, people in center, they're like, oh no, I can't do more than this. This is killing me.
Right.
I'm like, that's why right there. Is because you are building up so many toxins, and then you're wringing it like a sponge.
Mm-hmm.
They are sucking the life out of you just so you can come back.
Yeah.
And in-center works for a number of people, and it's great. But when
it's not enough dialysis to actually live a healthy life
On a day-to-day basis.
Yeah. And that's where you get real with a lot of people, and they call it the weekend death for in-center, because they go so long. They go to 3 days, they go the entire weekend, or if they're throw a holiday in there,
Right.
or natural disasters or something like that, where they have to go longer. Your body is not made to build toxins for 3 days.
Sometimes you feel like you're crawling back in there, like,
Mhm.
just get me hooked on that machine, I need it. And like, you should never feel that way.
Right. It's not a great way to live. It's not living.
And that's the thing, that's what you have to weigh, is what kind of lifestyle do you want?
Right.
And that's our goal, is to, like, I've been through every piece of dialysis possible at this point, and I don't want to see anybody else go through those 5 years I went through. So my goal is to just let everybody know, hey, you have options. My option might not work for you, but let's find what does work for you.
Yeah.
Right.
And a big thing that they say too is, well, I don't want to put my family through that. And I sit down with him and I'm like, you already are. You already are. Whether you're doing in-center or not, we are the one holding your hair while you puke, rub your back, rub your feet. You're cramping, you're miserable.
Mm-hmm.
So we are already going through it. So get that out of your mind. We want you out living. We want you out having fun. And like I said, if God forbid she goes out, we're going out with one of the biggest smiles on our face. We just bought a laser, and I showed some pictures, and we got a blind chick just driving a laser up in the mountains.
I did. I saw the razor.
And it's awesome, because my mom was sitting right next to her, and it was just, all right, here's the keys. Just don't hit me.
There may have been one close call, but
I was that close call. I was on the ATV in front of her, but I can yell really loud and quick, and she stopped. So, but we just get out there and do it.
That's
and we
living.
Take it as a challenge. When people say you can't do something, okay, watch. I'm going to show you.
And it's interesting, because there's a reason for every age group to go home.
Yep.
Like, we talk to senior citizens all the time, and I have to say they're my favorite, because I'm a firm believer in they have worked their entire life to get where they are. selling their houses. They're spending all their money just living in centers, you know.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it breaks your heart
It's
when
sad.
you realize what these people are going through.
And you got this old couple where the wife is in doing dialysis and the guy is just devastated. You know, he's got his, I mean, and it's that typical, he's got his head in his hands, just, he's worrying about his wife, and you go and sit down and talk to him. Like she has a bond with the dialysis patients, and mine is with
The
the
caretakers.
guys. It's like,
Mhm.
he's like, we're done. This is over. This is supposed to be the best years of my life. And I look at him, I'm like, well, why aren't you? And I'll start popping up pictures, and I'm like, hey, we're road tripping on this. This is my wife on a motorcycle doing dialysis. And then I'll pop up a picture of us dry camping up in the mountains, and I'm running dialysis off a generator.
Yeah.
And they're like, my life's over. We're supposed, you know. And I'm like, then do it.
Right.
You love RVing? Go
Let's
do
figure
it.
it out.
No,
Let's
no.
make
Yeah.
it work for you.
And I was like, you can have all of your supplies delivered where you're going. Go travel the country. And every state, you have a different place where you're picking up supplies.
Right.
I mean, there are so many options. And just watching, you know, his eyes get bigger and bigger and bigger of, oh my God, I can do this.
Right.
And I'm like, yeah, you can. And it's kind of like, well, we convince patients to start cannulating themselves.
Yeah.
And trying to explain to someone that you can feel that needle inside you, and you can feel if it's touching a wall. You can feel if it, you know, because every patient knows when they get that nurse that just wiggles around with the needle, and you're like, ah. I'm like, how great would it be if you could feel where that is and you put that right in?
Yeah.
And she had her graft taken out. She's going to be having a fissure on the other arm, and she will be cannulating that one.
Yep.
So,
Wow.
Yep. And I'm actually looking forward to it. I accept the challenge.
we have talked to so many people. We've interviewed people, and that's when we started our podcast, Blind Chick Living.
Yep.
We just kind of pick a different aspect of whole life where we dissect the dialysis that we did and problems. And we talked to one lady that's been doing dialysis for 32 years.
Yeah.
32 years.
Yeah. And that's what she
Yeah.
kind of explained to us. You feel the inside of that needle. It's hard to explain, but you just feel it going in the fissure.
And it's
And-
funny because most people who are on dialysis, you'll sit and tell your tech, okay, you need to stick it here and here. It doesn't work here.
Mhm.
And you don't realize that you're already
You're already doing it.
you're already doing it.
And you might as well place it and
Yeah.
tape it, and you know, and that's one of the that's one of the things I tell them is just cannulate yourself 5 times. I guarantee you would never let someone touch your needle again.
Yeah.
And it's amazing because even when we're at the hospital, you know, I'm not allowed to do anything because we're in a hospital setting and stuff like that, and it irritates me so much because nobody can take care of her better than we can.
Amen.
Nobody. So.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I got infiltrated twice on this last visit to the
Mhm.
hospital. So, you know, it's one of those things where these techs, they're amazing, but they're dealing with how many different arms. They don't know your arms the way you know your arm.
Correct. Or your caretaker.
Yeah, no,
Exactly.
exactly. And that was one of the biggest things was they had to place another IV to get blood. And I'm like, I can get you blood. I can get you blood. I get it all day long. Please don't stab her again. And they're like, well, we're not allowed to. We're not allowed to. I'm like, oh, just turn your back. I can fill those tubes for you, and you won't even know. Just turn your back. And they're like, we can't. I'm like, the system needs to be changed.
Yeah.
If they trust me, a dirty, tattooed mechanic, to do this on a daily basis, you know, and that's where I'm hoping we make a lot of changes.
Mhm.
Because little things like that of why are we stabbing her again, creating more scar tissue where that one needle poke could be the last access to that arm.
Right.
And it's tough. So, but would you like to see our setup and
Yeah.
our system real quick?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Just 1 second.
Okay.
So you guys spend a lot of time. Is social media kind of like your vice when you're passing the time?
It's Mike's.
Yeah,
I don't do social media at all.
I know. I see Mike on there a lot more than
Yeah.
anybody. So, but
Okay, say bye. All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you my setup real quick.
cool.
It'll just be kind of walking you through the house of what I do. Okay, so as you can see, I've got my machine, and I make a joke that every time I've almost killed Christina, we run a really good lesson on it. So I've made
That's a joke. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I've made cheat sheets that no matter what, and I like to set it up, well, God forbid something happened to me or Christina is incapacitated one way or another.
Right.
I could send my mom over and she could go step by step by step
Wow.
and still get this done.
That's great.
And that was my biggest thing is my fear of, I work on aircrafts. I could get called away. I want it to be, well, she doesn't have to go back in center. And I believe I've set it up all that way where with how she sets up the machine, she gets every connection done. She does all of this stuff. She pretty much runs it. And then we have the instructions for helping and stuff like that. And then we have the iPad. Like I said, we have instructions, and then I have a alarm list of some of the common alarms and just little
What to do.
what to do and stuff like that. And then as you can see, I've got my drain line, and I run a manual drain line so that I can do it any room in the house. And let's see if I can turn this camera around. Oh, I can't, but I have it running into the bathroom. So I have my drain going straight into the bathroom, and I just have it running into the toilet. So it works really good. And like I said, the machine when it's filling is a little bit noisy, and it's not something you want in your room. So all of my water access, I actually routed, and
Wow.
this is actually supposed to go on the machine, but we don't follow the rules. So we leave that there, and I bring the machine out here, and it fills and all that stuff, and it drains. And that way we don't have the machine in the room. If you have limited space, that's what I suggest I tell them, set that stuff up in a closet, and that way it's out of the way. You're not making noise. And then
Right.
she has, a setup out here as well.
Nice.
We did Christmas morning out here. So if we're having a family party or if we're having something go on, we have out here that she can do treatment as well. And then I have the same setup in the basement to where if she wants to be down there, she has a sometimes kid night where she'll go and have a sleepover with her daughter.
Okay.
And so I have it set up to where she can go down there and do it. And then this is our spare bedroom, but as you can see, we got
Medical supply room.
Yeah, and we've got all that. So the good thing about home hemo is it's not as many boxes.
Mm-hmm.
And so there was that. But with PD, this room was pretty full.
Wow.
And because you have to have all of the boxes for a certain type of fluid,
Mm-hmm.
but then you have to have the what if you have other boxes and all that stuff.
Jeez.
So, but then, like I said, there's a lot of people that talk about, well, we don't have the space for it and stuff like that. And I'm like, well, there's other options as well. You can get half month deliveries. You can get, and even if you balance the stuff on the side of the wall, there's ways you can do it. We
Right.
just have to find a way to do it. And then here is her Moosey boy.
Moose.
Sit. No, maybe.
Your other junior caretaker.
Yeah. And this is Moose. Come on. Sit.
The Pomsky.
Yeah, that is the Pomsky Silver Star.
Yeah, he's the best. Talk or something.
What?
Do one of his tricks.
High five. You are lazy. Oh, you just woke up.
He just woke up.
High five. All right. Speak. 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 Good boy. Yeah, he is. Our kids were growing up, and we didn't have seeing eye kids anymore.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So we had to get a service dog. And of course, Christina had to make it a cute, miniature, adorable
boy.
dog. So we had to accommodate that.
And Pomsky, he is probably one of the cutest dogs I've ever seen in my entire life, too.
I think so too.
Like every time I see a Pomsky, you know exactly what it is. As soon as you see it, you're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
I know. And he's such a great tempered dog, and he's perfect.
He was, it's weird because he was made for Christina.
Good.
Just the teaching me he had and all that stuff, he just picked it up amazing. So
Yeah. And he just cares so much for me. Like, he really wants to protect me, which is pretty cool.
That's his job. That's Michael's job too now.
Yep.
Yep.
I got a couple protectors.
Yep. You are super lucky.
I am
You really are.
very lucky.
And the amount of what you've been through with 2 rejections and in your journey to, being, doing this home dialysis at home now, I think you could help so many more people learn and
That's our
discover
plan
what's
is-
possible.
I've been doing this for 18 years, and my plan is if I can help one person to make a better choice to feel better, then I'm going to keep doing it forever.
I'm guessing you've probably already helped more than one person.
I can guarantee she has.
Yep.
And just how peppy and happy she is. She's just kind of the
Hey, she's not in this
perfect
alone,
person
man.
to do.
You're the one helping too. So she's not in this alone. I think you are a bigger part of this than you might realize.
And it is tough. It is tough.
Yeah,
Yeah.
on a
Will
daily
be
basis.
the hardest thing you do. But something she says, well, you get training for your job, right? This is
Yeah.
just a different aspect of a job.
Yep.
And
So
like, you figure the average person with good kidneys has 168 hours a week of dialysis.
Oh my goodness.
A person in center, they're lucky if they get 12.
So yeah, the more often you can do it, the better you will feel.
So Facebook group, podcast, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram.
Instagram, and our daughter and Tyler had to teach me how to do all of that stuff because I had absolutely no idea.
Yeah.
December, we kind of started with hey, I'm going to start this,
Yeah.
not knowing how to do any of it.
Right.
And at the beginning, trying to do live videos, and I had absolutely no clue what I was doing. And it just kind of quickly became, okay, we're doing
in
updates
this.
daily. We are showing people, and I agree with showing the good and the bad.
Yep.
You
You have to.
Extremely, and it's kind of frustrating because I had Facebook actually take down one of my videos, and it was because
graphic content.
it had a graph,
Yeah.
and it had
It was
her
my incision.
open wound,
Mm-hmm.
and it kind of irritated me because that is exactly what she's experiencing.
Right.
And it was so frustrating because I'm like, these people want to see this.
Mm-hmm.
These people want to see the fact that she rejected,
Right.
what she's doing, how they did it, how they cauterized it. And it was kind of a disservice because it was some really good information. And I was kind of explaining because I had a really hard time cannulating her when she had a graft. And it was because it was floating in infection. So I would cannulate one and it would be perfect. And then I would be in the same line. I would try to cannulate and it would sink down on me. And I would even tell her that. I'm like, it's moving, it's sinking. And it didn't make sense until we had it taken out. And then the doctor was like, yeah, it was floating around an infection.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah. So,
Yikes.
yeah. And even with that, again, we had a doctor that couldn't fit us in and was just taking his time. And so we had to go to the ER and just say, hey, you're doing it.
Yeah. And to be an advocate for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I have learned to be the most stubborn person. She's sweet as hell. She's just sweet. But I've learned to be the most stubborn person about, no, we're doing this.
No, you have
And
to.
Even on the way to the ER, we were like, okay, what is our game plan for this?
Yeah.
And we're like, we're taking this out. I'm like, okay. And we will make
Good
that
cop,
happen.
good cop, bad cop.
Out.
Yep.
Yep.
And it's kind of like where I've been dealing a lot with insurance.
Mm.
And just what dialysis patients have to do to get some of their medicine,
Right.
it should be illegal. It is. I understand why, and I hate to say old people, but I understand why old people just go home and die.
Yeah.
Because they make it so hard. And I will start a phone call with one of the insurance companies, and I'll tell them, I am about to start yelling at you. And they're like, what? I'm like, I'm about to start calling you names because it's the only way I'm going to get your manager. And she's like, and I'm like, unless you're transferring me. She's like, well, I can't do that, sir. I'm like, okay, get ready. And I would just start unloading on them. And she'll go, if you keep talking to me like that, I'm going to transfer you to my manager. It's like, oh my God, you did it. You did it.
It's sad that it has to get to that point.
And it's sad that I'm on the phone for like 3 days just for a typical medicine that's
life or death.
It's one of 20 or one of 40 that costs us $120, $200, $10. When I'm like, why are we paying this? And I actually found out it was Walgreens system with my insurance system arguing with each other. And one of our prescriptions that was over $200 is free. And it was all because it was somebody messing up in a computer system.
Yeah.
And it's so frustrating because, she's dealing with enough. They don't deserve to have to deal with that stuff.
No,
So
not at all.
it's one of those, be an advocate for yourself. And if you can't stand up for yourself, find someone that will.
Yep.
So if somebody wants to find you guys, Facebook group, probably the easiest way to go.
Facebook group, that is a private group, so you have to ask to be invited.
Yep.
So it is called Living on Dialysis. You'll see her picture right on the front of it.
Yep.
It's actually us up camping. There is also a personal page called Blind Chick Living.
Mm-hmm.
That one is more open. Anybody can like that one. So if you just want to kind of get a good idea of what it is, come and look at that one. A lot of the same posts go on there.
Yeah.
And then we have the
podcast,
and you can search on any major platform, Blind Chick Living.
Yep.
Just type in Blind Chick Living and it'll pop up anywhere you listen to it. So go follow it, listen to it. I think we have a good amount of humor, and you'll definitely learn some stuff about dialysis. She has a section called Christina's Crazy Corner, where she just interacts with a couple of her friends and they talk about just some random facts.
Mm-hmm.
And her daughter kind of leads that one. But it is just a fun, upbeat podcast about dialysis.
and hopefully just a whole lot of information, because again, our goal is to help people not go through the mistakes that I made.
Yep.
And so we try to give a lot of information on there just to let people know, hey, you can do this. You may think you can't, but you can.
It's kind of like little things where her graft was floating in infection. We didn't realize how bad it was until the doctor was like, well, when I was cannulating, if it's moving, it's not good.
Right.
It's not good. It's supposed to be interlapped inside your arm. And if it's moving around, there's a problem. Get it addressed. Because that's one thing where we learned real quick. We waited too long. And that's when we had, okay, we're on our way to the ER. This is what we're doing. We're done with this. We're not doing antibiotics again. We're not doing the roundabout thing again. We are having it taken out.
Yeah.
So it's just, and that's what we talk about on the podcast, is just typical things like that.
Learning how to advocate for yourself and
how to fend for yourself. We do a whole segment on PD. We do a whole episode on home hemo.
Yep.
We even do a whole episode on in-center. And we have the history of it. We have just facts and what it kind of takes. And then we have references to, like we interviewed that, she's actually called the Dialysis Diva. And she's been on dialysis for 32 years.
Yep.
And
It's incredible.
People like that. And I want to get rid of this stigma. Oh yeah, I think my grandma used to do that.
Right.
Well, find out what it is.
Right.
You know, because what these people go through behind closed doors, they're superheroes.
And you guys are kind of pushing that to the forefront and showing kind of what they're going through, the good and the bad.
Yeah.
And I think you two are amazing. I think your story, you know, is incredible. And like much kudos to you guys for what you're doing and bringing help to others and helping them through this as well. So
Thank you to you too
Yeah.
for spreading the word as well.
Yeah.
And it's awesome that more and more people are taking this stuff serious.
Yeah.
Yep. It needs to be more aware.
Yeah.
There's so many people suffering with this
Yeah.
every single day, and I think it's one of the hidden things that a lot of people just don't talk about.
It really is. It really is. And we are becoming advocates for some pretty major people. And you will see her in Washington soon.
Good.
So
Good.
there will be some changes. It will be very slow. But I mean, it's there's what, a portable dialysis unit you can have on your hip.
Yeah.
And it's just
It's
the
just
funding's
starting.
not there.
Yeah.
It can be out. It can be out. And it's all the
You got this
paperwork,
red
and it's like,
tape.
okay, and I get that.
I think it's the profit
Let's get
centers
this going.
of the
It absolutely is.
somebody's profiting. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. When
That's
and
exactly.
and people think that transplants the end all. No, you've got anti-injections, you've got these pills, you've got, you know, and it's
And those
the system-
anti-rejections, they are hard on your body.
and
Yeah.
it has to be changed.
It has to be.
And that's the good thing is a lot of the younger people are coming out on dialysis and being the advocates that they need to be, because it's that I sense lots of changes
Yeah.
happening, hopefully in our lifetime.
Good.
Hopefully
I would love to
We're
see
going
it.
for it.
hopefully we
Yep.
can push that bionic kidney, and you know we can get things to happen. So
Good. Well, I'm super proud of you guys. I think you're both amazing. So thanks so much for telling your story. And I look forward to seeing what's in the future for you guys, for sure.
Yeah.
same with you. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
thank you
All
so
right.
much.
All right, guys. Thanks. Have a great day.
Bye.
Hey, don't leave.